Full confession, I've started projects that I did not finish. So this episode will be all about the whips that make me feel very guilty because I started them and they've lain around for years waiting to be worked on. And this is one of them. I started the scarf. I thought, wouldn't it be fun to do a tube scarf? Because if you do a scarf, ideally both sides will look the same. So I made the tube by putting this fringe down there to sew together the bottom circle. And I got going and I thought I've got a lot of worsted weight wool that could go into this, various colors. And as you can tell, one of the things I kind of struggled with is tension because I was still newer at color work than I am now. Let me kind of give you an idea. Get this open here. So particularly on this magenta section, my floats, they just got too tight. And if they are, sort of stretched over the knitting underneath and you can't, loosen them and make them lie flat. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was like, this isn't turning out the way I want. I mean, I could frog all this, but I could also just, block it and live with it, which is my inclination. Because who's going to notice, right? I mean, I'll notice. I see a lot of knitters doing podcasts or whatever, full confessions. I made a mistake and I had to fraud back, 3 yards. And I'm thinking, yeah, but, your husband or your friend, they would never have known that little boo-boo was in there. So if you want to let it bother you, that's cool. But you also could just keep going and, acknowledge your own humanity. So that's my inclination here. Even though this is, it's really bunched up, it's still pretty. And I have a lot of wonderful colors in mind for continuing this, a purple section, a turquoise section. I could go back and repeat these colors. So with the cream background, it'll go with so much. So the cream gives a sense of harmony, but I think I'm choosing colors that sort of function well together. Either they're complementary or they're forgetting all the terms of color theory, but I do like to choose ones that are sort of on opposite sides of the color wheel. I think just sort of by habit, it's just like the way my eye perceives them. So I think this is turning out well, and I thought I would also share with you a book I have shown you before because I used it for another sweater. There's this book by Susan Anderson Freed and Colorwork Creations. It's kind of inspiring, really, because she started knitting very enthusiastically when she was trying to recover from cancer. And the patterns that are in here are gorgeous. Lots of nature. Let me see if I can find, let's say I have the deer and I have the griffin. I wonder if I could find the pictures of those in here. Oh, and I made a chulo hat from this book at one point. I kind of adjusted the pattern to my own taste, but I think my son has it because I gave it him. Oh, here's the griffin. Yeah. So griffin ski hat. So I use this, the pattern for that to do the griffin at the bottom. This has a variegated yarn that changes color. Mine is just one color. And I don't know if I can find the deer. I think I started working on, here's the duck. I started working on that one. I don't know if I could even count up. This book is, she has mittens on the one hand and hats on the other hand, but she uses the same motifs for each. And so you've got charts that have different versions of them. And I find that I have to kind of tailor the charts for the animals to my own needs because I'm not making gloves. And I've only made the one hat. But in any case, I'm not finding the deer, but I can show you my deer again. I think it turned out pretty good. Look at that, the antlers. So this is one of my whips that I really need to get back to. I think I would like it to be about 3 times this long, which would mean a total of 6 panels. So I've done 2, and I've started on the 3rd. And I finally figured out, I don't know, maybe you could tell me your feelings about this, but I'm a big fan of double pointed needles. I find that with those, it doesn't matter, you know, the length of the circle that you're knitting. And so I have developed this tendency where I use circular needles as double pointed needles. So I've got these two circulars, one on one side, one on the other. And then I have the third that I use to start the new row. So I do that a lot. I do that especially, well, even on sweaters. When I do bottom up, so when I join the sleeves to the rest of the body, then I have this whole section where it's just going all the way across. You've got like, I don't know, 300 or 400, 500 stitches or whatever. And I just find it easier to manage if I use 3 circular needles instead of trying to bunch everything up on one. In fact, I'll show you why with my next whip that I have not knitted on in 2 years. I mean, it's kind of sad. So this one is just on one round circular needle, and I'm always worried that it's going to come out. And this is like a size 2, I think. It's a 1 or a 2. It might be a 1. Because I wanted to use my leftover sock yarn, I showed you a lot of sock yarn the other day, to put into a sweater. And I got this far. I mean, this is probably close to 400 stitches around. So, you know, that's a lot of stitching. You're probably wondering, what in the heck is that? And I will show you in a minute. If you can probably gather, this is like haunches, and down here is a paw. And it repeats. And my worry is it's going to come out here because I have so many stitches on this one needle that I almost am tempted to do this the same way I'm doing the scarf, which is to use 3 circular needles in the same size. Here's my pattern. To be honest, I mean, I clearly adapted this. I probably found, I don't know, a mitten or something and grafted out and added the lice pattern. And it's ambitious, right? I think that's one of the reasons why it's been lying around neglected for a while. But I've already, I have this big, huge skein. I'll show you. It's a skein of German sock yarn that I got at Goodwill. That's the basis. And down here, I use some leftover sock yarn that I used from a pair of socks a while back. And then we get up to here and it stops, and then I switch to another one. And that was my goal, was just to use up skeins of sock yarn. And after a while I thought, boy, this is just going to be huge. But I just now compared it to a sweater that I finished. It's like the same size. So I don't know what I'm worried about. I think that I just got paranoid. It just, I don't know, it's just so ambitious. Maybe I just thought, well, I'll just work on something easier. So here's it's a beautiful German sock yarn that I got at Goodwill. It is Trekking, and it says Sechsfach, which means 6 ply, made in Germany. So it's a really good yarn. This skein, it's large, but it was back in the day $29, and I got several skeins of it at Goodwill. It's crazy. So I thought, well, that, you know, I've got a lot of this. That'll be my background color. And here's the skein I'm working on now. I finished a pair of socks with this yarn. I'm not sure in the top of my head what kind that is. Let me see if I have. Oh, here it is. Schöller Stahl, ganz schön kreativ fortissima. That's that turquoise yarn. Made in Italy. A lot of German yarns are made in Italy, which I kind of like to see. I feel like European Union, they're probably paying their laborers what they deserve. But, I mean, I kind of got off to a good start with this. This is a good 5 or 6 inches tall. So one of the reasons I decided I should do this video is like, I should get back. I should work on these projects. You know, they're actually pretty nice. This could be a crazy, fun sweater with those giant cats all over it. What do you think? Would you encourage me to continue this crazy attempt to use up sock yarn? I do like the cat pattern. And whip number 3. Mind you, this is a selection. There are others, but these are arguably the most interesting that I haven't worked on in years. So this is my first attempt at colorwork socks. Let me show you that pattern. And again, I have this German yarn, another huge skein of it, as the background yarn. And then I used up one kind of sock yarn, and then I went to another kind. And I'm gonna see, let's see what we have in here. In this this bag that I haven't looked at in ages. Here's my chart. I made a chart again. I mean, I worked hard on these and then dropped them like a hot potato. And part of the reason here was because I thought it was coming out tight again, like the first scarf. I was still just trying to learn how to manage color work and the floats and to get that balance that you want between, it shouldn't hang all over the place, but it shouldn't be so tight that it's bunching up the fabric. So here we, it's kind of bunched up a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get my foot in here. I wanted to do an afterthought heel, so I have the temporary stitches in there to work on the afterthought heel. But I'll show you the origin of this pattern that I made. Give full credit to Meg Swanson and Amy Detchen. It's this book here. Maybe you're familiar with this. Let me get this out of the way. It's called Knitting with Two Colors. And for the size of this book, it's just chock full of wonderful information, ideas, and patterns. Let me see here. I got the image. I just basically graphed this. There was no pattern, so I made my own. But that's where I got it from. So I'm not sure who is responsible for this particular pattern, if it was Swanson or Detchen. But look at that sun. Maybe some of you, this book has been around. You're probably familiar with it. There's a sweater in here, another one that would be so ambitious. Let me see if I can find it. That I am tempted at some point, maybe when I retire, to give a try. I might not even be in this book. Let me show you the sun. Swanson has done this book on Armenian knitting, which is also a really interesting technique. Well, now I'm not finding what I was looking for. But in any case, that sun that I showed you gives an idea. But the information, here we go. It's the sun and moon. The information in this book for the size of it is really kind of extraordinary. Let me see if I can show you. There's the sun, and the same sweater is going to have a moon on the other side. And I've seen these knitted up in some of Swanson's books, and they're just extraordinary. So anyhow, that is where I found those cats. Can you tell I like cats? I do like cats. I have 2 cats watching me right now. So I don't know, what do you think? Should I return to this? I don't really want to frog it. It was a lot of work. I did the bottom of it, the foot like this with this 2-colored ribbing. And I don't know, maybe if I block it and stretch it enough, it'll work. It'll be really thick. But I don't know, I love them. I really love them. And again, it's another constructive way to use up extra sock yarn. I did my Turkish cast on, which is how I start sock toes. And this had to have been an early one because, again, this has been sitting around for a while. So there's my true confession. I have the labels for the other yarn, just in case you're interested. So this is the yarn that I got going on using as I went up the ankle of the sock. It's got yarn tangled all around it, but it is from Debbie Bliss Rialto Luxury Sock. Not my favorite yarn to knit with. It was a little bit sort of wimpy. I think it doesn't have the twist in it that it should for a sock yarn, but it sure is pretty, and I have gotten some use out of the socks that I made. So with combining it with the German yarn, I think it wouldn't be a problem. And I don't know that I have the label for the other one, unfortunately. So there you go. So anyhow, love to know about your true confessions on your whips. And maybe, as a result of having shared these with you, I will decide that I should return. The one I probably was working on the most recently is this one. What do you think? Should I continue it? Actually, I think it'd be really cool. Maybe this evening, I'll sit down and get my green and white yarn out and continue work on the duck. I think I finally figured out how to get the tension right. Look at that. That's much more even than it is down below. So, yeah. I'll forgive myself for some of the wonky tension here and keep going. How about that? Y'all have a great day. Bye.